We spoke about the acting side of you, the dancing, the choreography. Let's talk about the life coach. You work with everybody from Gabrielle Union, Beyonce, Viola Davis, the great Viola Davis, Tony Braxton, just to name a few. Like, where did this come? Where does being a life coach fit into your life? And is this something that you always aspired to do?
It's not something I always aspired to do. It became a divine assignment because when I started to try to navigate Hollywood and the fact that it is a Shark Tank and the fact that I never, even though I worked and I became, part of these iconic films and, I was a known name and face and all of that, there was a part of me that just was never quite happy, to be honest. I was doing it. I was making money. I was wealthy. I had all the glitz and glam, hitting the red carpets, big, beautiful house in Beverly Hills. I had all the bells and whistles, but I didn't have peace and I didn't have true happiness. And I wanted it. I thought it was possible. I believed I deserved it and I just didn't have it. And so God rest God rest my dad's soul. He was the one who said that he started noticing in my pictures, in my energy, that I wasn't as sparky and as magnetic as he knew me to be. He felt like I was just kind of surviving as opposed to thriving. And he said, I need you to make choices that really make your soul sing because I feel like you're losing that spark. It's not in your eyes. It's not in your smile. And we argued about it for a long time. And the truth is he was right, and unfortunately, it took me to lose him for me to promise myself that I would live what could be my truth in his physical absence. And so I started just saying, you know what really makes me happy? And it's small things and big things, like even some small things like, as an actress, you don't ever know when you're going to be called to go on location. So I'm a dog lover. I've had a dog all my life. As a Hollywood actress, I didn't, because God forbid I get called away and now what do I do with my dog? But that's a big part of my happy. I love dogs. And I was living this life without a dog. I immediately went and got a puppy. And then, friends, I have a lot of friends from college and one now, Toy Ogden is now my manager. But, we've been friends since freshman year. I missed her wedding. I missed a lot of the birth of her kids, because I was busy chasing the Hollywood dream. And that always affected me. That always bothered me that I wasn't around for those moments with my best friends. And so I decided I was going to try to live a life where I was even more involved in their life as much as I could be, and get to know who they were as adults in life. So all these little choices, I said, let me just at least see what happens if I live these choices. And then the Hollywood community is who noticed the difference in my energy and in my step. There was a pep in my step. And they started calling me saying, what are you eating? What are you doing? And a few of them that I worked with, as Alfre Woodard, Julia Roberts, I was working with them at the time. And they would say, hold on, at lunchtime, I heard you ran a mile. Like, what is that about? We all took a nap. You went for a run. Like, what's going on with that? Or, we're all at the donut counter and you're bringing in green smoothies. What's happening? And so at first they would tease me. And then the next day they'd say, well, where's my smoothie? Or how come you didn't call me to run? And so it really became a thing of, I think the community started watching me live my happy and find my peace by any means necessary. And Hollywood is not a place of peace. And so I think when people started watching me, they said, I want some of that. And that became the AJ Zone.
So do you feel that this is more fulfilling to you than the acting side of your career, or are they both equally fulfilling, just in different ways?
They're not equally fulfilling because one is God ordained. Me being a life coach is a divine assignment. It's purpose. It's purpose driven. And so I know that my purpose is to use my life to help people live their better life. I already know that. I think that acting is part of it in terms of God giving me a global platform to bring more people to this space. So I think they go hand in hand. It's a hammer and a nail, if you will. And so I'm learning how to navigate that. Like, now I'm living what I call this overflow, where, I'm executive producing 2 shows. I'm on camera with 2 shows. I'm creating projects in Africa. I'm doing a drama, I'm doing reality TV, I'm doing all these things. And I remember praying that every element of my creative life, I want it to pop at the same time. once I got it, I said I should have been praying for how to sustain it and the endurance to get through it once you get it. But that's what's happening now. Everything is on gas, no brakes, all gas, no brakes. And I think it's because we're living in a time where people need more God guidance and more example of what happens when you're not afraid to say that God's the head of your life. And how, how does that look? How does it manifest physically? How does it manifest spiritually? How does that manifest in how you walk, talk, how you're being? So I tell people, you think this body's from working out. This body is because I don't pollute it. This body's because my spirit's clean and strong. That my physical manifestation is just the product of my strong spirit. It's not because I live in the gym, And so I believe I'm supposed to be a living, walking testimony of what happens if you take care of yourself, mind, body, and soul. Then it's not the black don't crack. It's that it doesn't crack if you take care of it and you let God lead. That's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious, even just looking at you, and I'm not shooting my shot, but just...
You sure? Wait, let me fluff my hair just in case. Okay, go ahead.
Just looking at you, there is a peace coming from within. You look clearly like, I'm at peace. I'm happy. And it radiates through you.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you get that all the time, so cut it out.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Are you serious?
No, I don't.
Yeah, like
I think you're flirting
even
again.
me just sitting, again? I'm not flirting again.
Okay. All right. Okay. No, I don't. I really don't. I mean, I get people saying, that I'm inspiring or that, I do hear a lot about my energy. I don't quite understand that yet in terms of people saying, your energy is just so, it's this, it's that. And I don't.
No, there's something more. There's something more than your energy. It's something from within. And maybe it's you're living your life's purpose. Maybe you are doing divine work, but there's something that radiates out of you and it's evident. So looking at you physically, you can tell spiritually you are on par and on course with what you're supposed to be doing in this life.
Amen. That's that. Thank you. Thank you. That's how it feels. That's how it feels. And I just want to add to that because I think this is the important thing when people hear my interviews or see me talking. I've always been very private in terms of my life versus my career. Of course, you dug deep and went and got some information. We're gonna talk about that off camera, by the way. But I have to say that you have to have a courage in order to live your truth. It's not easy. I don't want people to think that, I'm sitting here and it's always fun. It's not always fun, but I've lived enough of my non-truth life to know that this feels better. And so that's kind of what I say to people. It's like, people say, how do you know your purpose and how do you make the decision? And I'm like, it's not scientific like that. Listen to your spirit, listen to your heart. They both will tell you what works for you. You know what feels good. And so always just go for that. No matter what happens, go for what makes you feel good. And that is going to lead you to the right thing. It's that simple. And so I think that's where the peace comes from. I'm only saying yes to what works for me in my life, period.
So you and I, we spoke off camera and a little bit on camera about all of the work you're doing in Africa. I want to dig into that a little bit. Where does that come from? Is this part of this divine work that you're doing? Is it part of, God's plan for you? Like, how did Africa even come into play?
I think it's unfolding now to be that. I mean, honestly, in December 2018, Africa came up because I was going through a nasty breakup and my birthday's at the top of the year. It's always been a special time, celebratory time for me. But at the time, I was getting tired of not being in the relationship, not having that celebratory kiss at midnight. I wanted that and I wasn't experiencing that. And so I said, you know what? If I'm not going to have that, let me at least have a birthday this year where everything is new. The food is new, the clothes are new, the smells are new, the people are new. I want new to be my distraction away from what I don't have. My parents are not here to help me celebrate. That can be a life distraction at the holidays. It was for me. The holiday time, not very many people travel. It's expensive. Most people are with their families. So it always left me more in the alone space. Not lonely. I always say not lonely, but in the alone space. And so I said, you know what? I want new to be my distraction. I want to wake up every morning this particular holiday and have so much new to experience that I don't even care nobody's here. I don't care I'm not in a relationship. I want to be excited about the new. Where is that? And here's the thing. By then, I had done the global New Year's Eve parties. I mean, after you've been to Puffy's party on his yacht in St. Bart's, it doesn't get much better than that, right? Miami parties. I had done all of that. And interestingly enough, at those parties at midnight, I found myself alone with my feet in the pool, almost depressed. Because I was like, I'm at the hottest party in the world. Leonardo DiCaprio's here, Riri's over here. And I'm like, there's got to be more than this. So I had that a couple of years, leading up to this Africa thing. So by the time I said I'm going to Africa, I just decided it was going to be the turn up of my life, because how could it not be? Everything was new. Little did I know that God's plan for that trip was to completely rebirth me in understanding my history and understanding who I was called to be globally, not necessarily in the industry or in the US, but globally, who I was really called to be, the power that had been bestowed upon me as an African who had been displaced 400 years ago. I mean, I completely got my personal and our cultural history lesson. And I said, you know what? I'm not leaving here without making decisions of how to walk in this as my truth and live it. I don't know what that looks like, but I understand who I am. I understand where we've come from. And right now, with most of my time being in America, I have to live this truth that I'm royal and that we come from royal heritage. And we were stripped of all that. But what does my life look like if I walk in the royalty that I've discovered I am? And that was January 2019. I mean, I started working, doing appearances there that year. Even in the pandemic, once, the African borders closed, once they opened, I left the US to go there. And, business relationships started establishing. The US Embassy took note of my passion for Africa. The African government, President Afukoto, he noticed. And so I started getting a lot of these American ambassador deals, and I had some ideas of my own. I started doing a lot of philanthropy there. So all of a sudden, all of these elements of my life just elevated in Africa. And I just didn't fight it. I just said, well, you know what? I've got red bottoms. I got Hermes bags, but for an Hermes bag and a red bottom, I can actually get to Africa and stay for 4 or 5 days. So for me, it became, which do I want? Which do I want more? Do I want the latest shoe, or do I want the cultural experience and to grow as a person? And we know now, what my choice was. And so that has evolved into a lot of service. This particular holiday that just passed, I launched the AJ Akuya Rebirth Retreat, which is a duplicate of the first week, the life-changing week I had. And so now I'm taking people over at that time of the year to say, you got to experience the Africa that changed my life. And so I've created it as a retreat. So yeah, what you're watching is just me embracing who I know I am. And I understand my place. A lot of people there say, you're more Ghanaian than we are. You moved here. And I'm like, no. I'm like, well, I'm here a lot. And then Americans are like, well, which place do you live? And I said, well, I'm not or. I'm here in the US and I'm in Africa, because I believe in the calling on my life that both places are necessary, that I'm here to do a certain job and I'm there to do a certain job. And right now, God's not saying they collide. God is saying they complement. And so I'm okay with it.
I'll tell you a quick story before I let you out of here. I remember the first time I ever went to Africa, and you use words like it's necessary. You use words like royalty. I am literally on a plane on my way to Africa. And when we landed, I had the craziest epiphany ever. Growing up in the United States, seeing all of the images that is portrayed of Africa.
Come on.
And how they depict us.
Yep.
And what I was fed from the time I was born until I got on that flight. I almost didn't I'm on a plane, and I didn't realize consciously or in my subconscious mind, I didn't realize that they even had airports over there. I'm like, hold up. They got airports? It's civilization here? I thought I was going to get off a plane in the middle of nowhere. There was going to be giraffes running by, men
Elephants.
with elephants, men with bones in their noses, and it was the greatest experience of my life because number one, the people were so warm. Just it felt like you went home. It
Yes.
literally felt. I would recommend going to Africa for it. You felt like I went home. They were so warm. It was so much civilization. It was so built out that I couldn't believe it. Even though consciously I know as a continent, it has to be this. There
Right.
has to be tall buildings. There has to be restaurants. But subconsciously, with all the images I've seen my whole life, it just I thought that I was going into a third world country, and it was so eye opening. But on top of that, I think as African Americans, we come to realize we're so much greater than what America has told us we are. I would recommend to anybody who hasn't been, take that trip. And it's everything is over there. The most beautiful beaches, the best restaurants.
The motherland.
It's incredible.
That's why it's called the motherland. It's like, I not to interrupt you, but to agree with you, it's again, I go and I'm not being paid to be an ambassador. I just feel like there's so much as Americans we don't know that it's my duty to share the joy and the elevation of life that I've gotten and that I continue to get every time I go, every single time. Like even this time, there were different people that were there. Some I knew, some I didn't, but new relationships blossomed this time. Some Africans who live in the States, some Africans who are there, some Africans that I met before that are back and forth that didn't come this Christmas. It's like God keeps saying yes to my life in Africa. Because if he wasn't, I wouldn't have to go. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I just feel like every time I go, there's an elevation in my life on some kind of level, financially, spiritually, emotionally, relationships. And just to add what you're saying, the warmth, one of the things that also helped me decide to spend more time there, especially in this pandemic, than here, is that during the pandemic year, 2020, before I actually went to Africa, which was November of 2020, most of the African people I knew then, who weren't really close friends, by the way, I just kind of knew them, they checked on me more in the pandemic than LA friends that lived around the corner from me, that friends I had in the US that I had for years. These African acquaintances, let's say, checked on me more. And it made me feel like I want to go to where I'm loved. I want to go to where I'm really celebrated. I want to go to where I feel safe. I want to go to where I'm comfortable. And it was there. And so I just feel like, again, trying to live my truth, it's my spiritual responsibility. It's my purpose-driven area of my life to say, if you love my happy, if you love my energy, if you love anything about me, let me at least share with you where it's coming from. And so that's why I go and come back and say, I was just in Africa. I was in Africa. Oh my God, this is it. Here's the fashion. Here's the jewelry. Here's the food. It's like everybody's like, wow, I'm getting to know a whole different Africa, like you're saying, than I ever imagined through you. And I say, amen, that my intention is met.
Yeah, I definitely think it's something that everybody should do. If people want to take you up on this new endeavor, bringing people over there and just showing them the Africa that you came to know in 2018, where can they find you?
The
And where can they
AJ
get
Zone,
more information?
the ajzone.com. There's a retreat that's actually now taking deposits for December 2022. The one we just finished. Everybody's saying, I want to be on the list now. I'm keeping all my groups intimate because, again, for me, it's not about the large travel group. It's about the true personal, spiritual experience. And so registration and more information is at the ajzone.com. But also follow me on Instagram at the AJ Zone because I post everything. I post everything about it. My philanthropy. It's been a beautiful thing. I'm enjoying my life in Africa, and it has me basically living there and working here.
Well, AJ, thank you so much for your time, your great spirit, and your stories and your insight and your energy. I really did enjoy this interview and just sitting down conversating with you. So thank you so much. on behalf of myself and everybody at Vlad TV.
Thank you for having me. I've been waiting to come, so I'm glad I came.
And with that, it's a wrap.